Hey ladies and germs, welcome back to another episode of Burns Reviews, where we're talking about The Witch. That's right. Why is it called The Witch? I don't know. They use two V's. Because one V is never enough, apparently. But it's called The Witch. We never learn why it's called The Witch. It's really called The Witch. I mean, that's what my ticket stub said. It said The Witch, it didn't say The Witch. Marketing choice? I don't know. Witch is terrible. Don't go see The Witch. Go see Deadpool again. Go watch The Revenant. Go watch some of the Oscar movies. I don't know, but The Witch is god-awful. Don't believe the buzz. Don't believe the bullshit. I don't even know how to describe this movie. Okay. 16th century, New England. Okay. We got Farmer Will and his wife Catherine and their 5 kids. They're very much the religious type. They're Puritans, right? And we don't really know why. It's kind of a moot point. But William does not agree with the local town that he's living in and says, you know what? I don't like your laws. I'm out of here. Packs up his shit, leaves town with the family, walks around for a bit. He's got the horse. They see a clearing in the field, and they're like, oh, let us join hands, family, because this will be the land where we grow our new home. Builds a log cabin, all that stuff, starts farming, and that's basically the setup of the movie, The Witch. It's like Fan Four Stick, it's a great name. But basically, you know, shit goes down, as expected. I'd hate to spoil it for anybody who's gonna go see this movie, but, you know, there is in fact a witch. I'll tell you that much. It's just bad though. It's really bad. It's like somewhere between The Village and Sleepy Hollow. And when I walked out, I kind of felt like The Visit was a better movie. And it's just, I think what overshadowed this movie too much was the whole big question, hey, you know, is it okay to be this religious, and is that really going to benefit you? And the easy answer, for this movie at least, is no. Because William, whatever his name is, should have stopped putting all his faith in God, and should have actually stepped up to the plate. Even if you are religious, I think in most religions they kind of tell you that God expects you to pull your own weight. He's not going to fix things for you. You know, he kept saying things like, we are humbled by this tragedy to make us more aware of God's divine. Okay, maybe you should step up because everything's going to hell. Oh, God. And there's a goat in this movie. I forget the name of it. It was something stupid like Billy the Goat, or I can't remember the name of it right now. It's too dumb to remember, but it was like Billy the Goat, who may or may not be possessed by some type of being, and it's too funny to consider it as horror or anything like that. And yeah, this movie was just really hard to get through. And more than that, it wasn't so much that it was hard to get through, it was just that it never paid off in any which way. I mean, it did have an ending, it did kind of wrap up in some way, but even when it got to that point, I stopped caring by then. There were a couple tense moments, maybe 3 or 4 tops, but it didn't make up for how bad the movie was in general. And the lives of the people, the family, were so horrendous to begin with. You kind of felt on some level that death would be a sweet escape for them, so watching them die would not really be the worst, because living seemed pretty horrendous. So, I will say this much, I saw it with a buddy of mine, and I remember thinking on the way out, not a great movie. Give it a, I think what did I say, D? I'm gonna give it a D, right? But if this was a TV show, like a series on Netflix, and it ended the way it ended, and that was a cliffhanger for season 1, I would be totally pumped up for season 2. Because the end of the movie kind of ends in a way where you're like, oh, okay, things are getting more interesting. Oh, Fade to Black? Yeah, that's about right. We have been watching this dribble for about, 90 minutes. To their credit, though, I went into this movie going, thinking that it was like the winner, the big winner at you know, the Cannes Film Festival, or I think it was Cannes Film Festival. I heard one of them. Turns out it was just Best Director, and I can see that. It was a decently directed movie for a guy who was in the woods and only had $1 million. Budget was $1 million, and we all know a big part of that is usually advertising, which means he probably had $500,000, maybe $750,000. So yeah, I give him props for doing the best that he could do. He had a vision, he saw it through, and it looked like a higher budget movie. It looked like The Village, or it looked like Sleepy Hollow. It kind of felt like those two movies, but those aren't great movies. Those are pretty horrendous. So with that said, guys, I don't recommend The Witch. Even if you're a horror buff, my friend who I saw it with, big horror buff, loves horror movies. Even he was like, nah man, I couldn't get into it. So I'm going to give this movie a D. Don't believe the hype. It's not great. The people who are from Game of Thrones are like the dude who hung out with Greyjoy in season 2, and then the crazy sister who got thrown through the, you know, sky window. So nobody of great talent. I thought the main girl, the main character, I think all the acting was decent. It just, the storyline, you kind of lost me. It kind of made me feel like, yeah, I get what the message you're trying to say with this movie is, but you didn't have to do this in 90 minutes, and you could have also had subplots to kind of fill out your movie a little bit, make it a little bit more intriguing for the viewer. So, with that said, guys, I'm not going to waste any more of your time talking about this. Solid D. Don't go see it. See anything else. Oscar season's coming up. Or it's here. Go watch those movies. I'm sure they're great films. I've seen half of them. Gonna do some Oscar stuff coming up. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, you just got burned.